Hi students, so we're actually going to make our bowling ball now, and we want to try to make it to scale. As you know, Blender is not in like inches. Each of those little marks is normally about 1 meter. So under dimensions, if it says 2M, that means that it's 2 meters. So we're going to create an icosphere today, and it's going to be 2 meters. And obviously 2 meters is like 3 feet times 2. So this is a foot. So that would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That a bowling ball would be like this big. So I'm looking at this right now and I'm thinking, I'm imagining a bowling ball is probably about that long. That's about 22 centimeters. So 22 centimeters, if you're good with your math, would be converted to 0.22 meters. So the dimensions of our bowling ball are going to be 0.22 meters in Blender, unless you want to make yours a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. So for this first part, you're going to open up a brand new Blender file. You're not going to open your pin file. You're going to add Mesh Icosphere. In that little properties panel that you only get one chance to use, you're going to set the subdivisions to 3. And then your transform panel, you're going to go ahead and change the dimensions like we talked about to 0.22 meters or 22 centimeters. Then you'll right click and shade smooth and then save it with your first and last name, bowlingball.blend. So brand new Blender file, delete your cube. And I'm going to just go ahead and hit 1 for front orthographic mode. Then you can go Shift A or just click Add Mesh, choose Icosphere. Okay, so check that out. It's made up of triangles, and you have this Add Icosphere properties panel that you only get to use that one time. So we're going to change that to 3 subdivisions. It gives it a little more geometry, a little more topography to work with so that we can pick 3 vertices that we're going to use for the holes. Then your transform panel, shortcut N as in Nancy, you're going to come down here to dimensions, and remember we said that a bowling ball is not 2 meters. It's about 0.22 meters. So you can actually click and drag and pull down across all 3 of those, and now they're all 3 selected. So when I type in 0.22 and hit enter, it changes all 3 X, Y, and Z dimensions to 0.22. Took me a little practice to get it just right, but I just clicked and dragged across all 3. Now I can scroll in and take a look at that. Remember, you also, if you are far away from something, can hit the dot or not on your keypad to pull it in. That was the view frame selected, whatever selected. If you don't have it selected, remember over here in your outliner, you can always find it, click on it, and then hit the dot, and it will zoom in on the object that you're looking for. So if you're having a hard time finding something, just select it over here in the outliner first and then hit your dot. Great shortcut to remember. So the next thing is to shade it smooth. Right click, shade smooth. Boom, that looks fantastic. That's all we're doing right now, folks. We're gonna save, file, save as, and we're just gonna name it with our first and last name. Your first and last name. Sometimes I have students that will type my name in on their assignments and it cracks me up. Bowling ball and dot blend. And then just click save as. Make sure you're in the right folder. I know I am because all of my other files are in here. Perfect. So next, we want to bevel a vertex, and I'm sure that means nothing to you right now, but it will in just a moment. And we could also add a reference image of our bowling ball, and just for fun, because I want you to remember how to add a reference image, it's not really going to be that great of an application, but I'm just going to go through that one time with you again, how to do it. And then you're going to bevel 3 vertices where you want your holes to be. So you'll hold down Shift and select 3 vertices. You have to be in edit mode in Vertex Select. And then under the Vertex menu at the top, you'll select bevel vertices and then drag your mouse and it will bevel them. You can also hold down Control plus Shift plus B as a shortcut to bevel all three of those vertices at the same time. Let's see how that looks. So I can't really see any vertices right here. So your first clue, if you're trying to select some vertices, is that you want to be in edit mode. So do you remember how to get from object mode to edit mode? What's the shortcut? Tab. So go ahead and hit tab, and there we go. Now I can see all of my beautiful vertices, and I've got my vertex select here. So let's add a reference image. You don't have to. I mean, honestly, you could just look at your image and go, oh, okay, I kind of see where the holes are aligned, how I want that to look. But just for fun, I just want to show you how to do that again. So remember, it's under add. No, it's not. You've got to go, sorry. Boy, I just made a really bad mistake. I need to be in object mode to add a reference image. Whoops. So add, and then go down to image, and then click reference. Okay, and find wherever it was that you saved your bowling ball reference image and then load that. Okay, and then it looks like we kind of have a problem. That bowling ball reference image is huge. So I can change that though, right? All I have to do is come over here to the scale. So right now it's saying that that is 1 meter across. And so, or 1 unit. So I'm just going to change that to about, I'm going to try half of that and see what that does. Oh, that doesn't help at all. Okay, so what if I did 0.01? Oops, I can't just change one of my, I have to change the X, the Y, and the Z. So that's why you click and drag over them. So if I do 0.01, what does that do? Oh, that might be too small. Okay, let's try 0.05. Okay, that's just a touch too big. So maybe I can try 0.045. That looks like that might be perfect, but I can't honestly tell because I can't see it. So this is a good review. That's all I wanted to do is review. Let's take a look at this little square with those little brackets around the corners for object properties. And let's scroll down and look at the viewport display. Remember, viewport display, you have this option to see it in front. Great. Now I can see the ball, but now I can't see my icosphere. So that's when you're going to go down here to the object data properties. It looks like a little image icon. And you're going to use alpha. Click the use alpha box and then just click and drag this slider over to about 0.2 or so. You can still see the holes. Okay, but you can also see your sphere underneath, and that actually looks like it's aligning up perfectly. That's fantastic. Excellent. So I have my empty or my reference material saved right here, and I'm just going to go ahead and name that my reference empty. And I'll go to my icosphere and I'm going to name that my bowling ball. Okay. And now I've got my bowling ball selected. It's safe for me now to go into my edit mode so that I can kind of take a look at how these vertices are lining up or are not lining up with my holes. Like, I seriously can't come in here and select this one, holding down shift, this one and that one, because they look a little crooked. But let me show you how crooked they look. And what's going to happen is these two are right next to each other. I can't do the two that are right next to each other. That's going to mess things up. Let me show you why. Because remember, once you select those 3 vertices, you're going to go up to this vertex menu I told you about, and you're going to say bevel vertices. The shortcut is Shift Control B. You just hold those all down at the same time. And when you do that, you get this little dotted line and you drag it, and then you can choose the size. Well, that lines up really nice, but that's not going to look right because there needs to be a little bit of space between those holes. So that's not quite working. So I'm going to right click just to drop those. And I'm going to use my middle mouse and press down, and I'm going to kind of rotate this ball around and look at like maybe some different options. Notice this line that I have right here. So there's, and even though that's what I was saying, like my reference image isn't going to be totally useful at this point, but I do know that I kind of want to have two dots that are pretty close to each other. And maybe, yeah, that's probably about right. Two dots that are kind of close to each other, and then one that's a little further down. So that's 1, 2, 3. That might be the best that I'm going to do. So let's try that bevel technique. So Shift, Control, and B, and then drag. And how do those holes? Those holes look really good. That actually looks pretty good, like a bowling ball. So make those about the size of the fingers that you saw in your reference material. And yeah, that looks about the right size. So I will go with those and go ahead and hit File, Save. Boom. And I'm going to hide the reference material. I really don't need that anymore in my vision. Let's go ahead and tab into, whoa, what happened to my, dun dun dun. I forgot to, let me hit edit. Click outside. Oh yeah, okay, now click. Oh, well you can't really see it if you go back into smooth mode. So that doesn't really help me. All right, so stay in edit mode for right now. The next thing that we're gonna have to do is take these little faces. So let's go into face select, and we're going to hold down shift, and when we select those, we're going to extrude them into the center of the ball. But there's a special way that we want to do it, because let me show you. If we go into wireframe mode, this one right here, we can actually hit E and start extruding. Oh, you know why this isn't doing anything wrong? Because I have my settings already changed. So I'm going to stop my video really quick and change my settings back. Okay, so E for extrude. There we go. And let's just kind of, I'm going to just drop them really quick and take a look at what they're doing. They actually don't look that bad. Honestly, I feel like I could have just done that and gotten away with it. But there is a technique that you can kind of change so that they are going in the direction of their own normal. So I'll explain what that is here in just a second. Okay, so our goal is to extrude the holes along their normals. And so you'll be in edit mode, face select the 3 holes, which we just showed you how to do that. And then you're going to change global to transform orientation to normal. And then there's a pivot point menu that you're going to change to individual origins. Oops, sorry. And then you'll change to wireframe so that you can see inside your model again. And then you'll extrude the holes again. And you'll make sure that they're equidistant, meaning that they're all the same, like a good distance from each other. If you have any overlap, I'll show you what that means. You're going to scale the faces at the bottom so that they're not overlapping. But I didn't have that problem. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so I'm just going to hit Control Z and undo that extruding. So do you remember how to select these? You're just going to be in your regular solid mode. Make sure you have face select and edit mode, and then you hold shift and just click on those. Over here, you have different, like I'm under tweak, but if you just hold that down, you have box select, circle select, and you can change, like if you're in circle select and your circle's so big that when you go to click on just one vertex or something, or if you go to click on that face and it's selecting too much, you can decrease the size of that tool. Remember over here on the right, you have this little tool tab over here, and the radius is 25 right now. So I can drag that and decrease the size of it so that I do have the ability to select just the hexagon that I want. Okay, and then remember, when you're done with circle select, you have to right, well, maybe not. You used to have to right click. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so I'm going to select those. Perfect. And I'm just going to change this back into tweak mode. I prefer tweak mode, and then go back to items so that I can see my items, different properties. And then in those directions, I said I wanted you to go to the global menu, which is up here at the top, and click on the drop down. And you're going to go into, it says transform orientations. Change global to normal. Okay, perfect. And then this one right here is the transform pivot point drop down menu I was telling you about. And I want you to change that to individual origins. And that's going to make it so that when we extrude it, it's going to go along each of these 3 holes normal instead of kind of all going along the same path. So let's take a look at how that looks in wireframe mode. So click wireframe mode and then hit E. And notice now they're all extruding towards the center instead of just all going along kind of a similar trajectory. So that's pretty cool. But then also notice that I had that little overlap. So I'm going to hit Control Z and I will hit E to extrude again, and then see if I can just try to bring those close together, but that they're not actually touching. And that works perfect for me. I'm happy with that. If you decided though that you wanted to go a little further in there, so I'm going to hit Control Z and I will extrude again. And let's say this time I bring it in so far that there's a little bit of overlap. Okay, and I want to get rid of that. All I have to do is scale, so I can hit S and just kind of scale those just a touch smaller, and then I get rid of that overlap. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. Let's go ahead and switch into solid mode now. So hit Tab. And let's get out of wireframe mode and come back into solid viewport. Okay, is that what you were expecting? Yee, that's not what I was expecting. That looks a little odd, right? Let's fix that. So we need to make the holes look round. You're gonna go into edit mode. You need edge select. We're gonna select that loop. So Alt and then clicking the edge of the loop will select the first loop, but you want to select all 3 of them and do the work all at one time so that they're all beveled exactly the same. And you're going to hold down Shift and Alt to select the other loops. So you should have 3 loops selected now. And then Bevel, the shortcut is Control plus B. Then you just drag your mouse and then left click to set it. You're going to go into this modifier properties box and you are going to add under this drop down menu the subdivision surface, and you'll set the viewport to 2. Hit Tab and then you're going to be amazed at how realistic your bowling ball is. Let's do it. So back to edit mode. And we want to edge select. So instead of face select, let's click on the edge select, hold down Alt and select that first loop, and then hold down Shift plus Alt to grab that second loop. Keep holding Shift and Alt to grab that third loop. Excellent. Now that you have that done, you're going to bevel a little bit. So Control and B at the same time, and then just drag your mouse a little bit and you can see this little tiny beveling action that we're having here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click. That's a good enough bevel for me. And then we're going to add the subdivision surface modifier. So over here under the tool. So this is your little wrench. I'll slide this out a little bit. Okay, and we're going to add modifier. And over here on the second column, you'll see the subdivision surface, okay? That's just gonna subdivide this edge so that it looks rounder. And change the viewport, just increase it to 2. So your render's 2, your viewport's 2, and your quality's 3, okay? And we're pretty much done here. So now just go into object mode and boom. Bowling ball, looks good. Nice job. Okay, can you go File, Save it as, and just make sure that you have the right first and last name bowlingball.blend and click Save As. Make sure it's in the right folder. And you're done for today. Good job.